Daf Yomi, Tractate, Bava Metzia, page 28a, top of the page with the words Ela Hadisnan. The Gemara asks, but there is that which we learned in that Mishnah, 20a. If one found a roll of documents or a bundle of documents, he shall return the documents to whomever describes the roll and the bundle, which serve as distinguishing marks. Would one say that so too if one returns lost items on the basis of distinguishing marks due to the tacit agreements of the owners, it is satisfactory to the debtor to have the documents returned to the creditor? Rather, Bava said, identification of an item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law, as it is written, and if your brother be not near you, and you know him not, then you shall bring it to your house, into your house, and it shall be with you until your brother claims it. Derosh claims it, and you shall return it to him. Deuteronomy 22, verse 2. Would it enter your mind that he would give you the lost item to him before he claims it? How can the finder return it if he does not know the identity of the owner? Rather, the verb derosh is not referring to the claim of the owner. It is referring to the scrutiny performed by the finder. Scrutinize him, darsheu, scrutinize him to determine whether the claimant is a swindler or whether he is not a swindler. Only then may you return the lost item to him. What is it? Not that the one who claims the lost item proves that he is not a swindler on the basis of distinguishing marks that he provides? Rava affirms, conclude from it, that identification of an item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law. Rava begins his statement and says, if you say that identification of an item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law, the Gemara interjects, if you say, didn't he already resolve the dilemma and conclude that identification of an item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law? The Gemara answers, Rava phrased his statement conditionally, due to the fact that, although he holds that identification of an item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law, one could reject his conclusion and say, as we explained previously in 27b, that when the Mishnah states that the finder scrutinizes whether he is a swindler, he does so on the basis of witnesses and not on the basis of distinguishing marks. The Gemara resumes Rava's interrupted statement. If you say that identification of the item on the basis of distinguishing marks is by Torah law, then in a case where an item is found and two people claim it as theirs, and one describes distinguishing marks on the item, and the other describes distinguishing marks on the item, the finder shall leave it in his possession and not give it to either claimant. In a case where one person describes distinguishing marks on the item, and the other brings two witnesses to support his claim of ownership, the item shall be given to the claimant with witnesses. In a case where one person describes the distinguishing marks on the item, and the other describes distinguishing marks on the item, and brings one witness to support his claim of ownership, the one witness is as one who is not there, and the finder shall leave it in his possession. The testimony of a single witness has no legal standing in this case. In a case where one claimant to a found garment brings witnesses who testify that the garment was woven for him, and the other claimant brings witnesses who testify that the garment had fallen from him, the garment shall be given to the claimant whose witness testified that the garment had fallen from him. As we say that perhaps the one for whom it was woven sold the garment, and it fell from another person, who is the current owner. If one claimant provides the measure of length of a lost garment, and the other provides the measure of its width, the garment shall be given to the claimant who provided the measure of its length, as one can approximate the measure of its width when its owner dons the garment and stands, but the measure of its length cannot be approximated in that manner. Therefore, it is a more clear-cut distinguishing characteristic. If one claimant provides the measure of its length and the measure of its width, and the owner provides the measure of its gamma, its combined length and width, which together from the Greek letter gamma, but does not provide each measure individually, the item shall be given to the claimant who provided the measure of its length and the measure of its width separately. If one claimant provides the measure of its length and the measure of its width, and the other provides the measure of its weight, the item shall be given to the claimant who provided the measure of its weight, because it is more difficult to approximate it is a more clear-cut distinguishing characteristic. If one claimant provides the measure of length and the measure of its width, and the other weight, length and width and weight, okay. Rava continues, in a case where a bill of divorce is found and it is unclear whether it had been delivered to the wife, and the husband, who we considered, states the distinguishing marks of the bill of divorce and claims that he did not yet give it to his wife, and the wife, who wants to be divorced, states the distinguishing marks of the bill of divorce and claims she already received it. The document shall be given to the wife. The Gemara asks, with what distinguishing mark did she describe the bill of divorce? If we say that she described it with the measure of its height and width, that is not a clear-cut distinguishing mark. Perhaps while her husband was holding the bill of divorce, she saw it, although he had not yet given it to her. Rather, it must be that she says that there is a perforation alongside such and such a letter in the document, which she could know only if the bill of divorce had been in her hand. In a case where the husband states the distinguishing marks of the string with which the bill of divorce is bound, and she states the distinguishing marks of the string, the document should be given to the wife. The Gemara asks, with what distinguishing mark did she describe the string? If we say that she described it by saying that the string is white, or by saying that it is red, this cannot be the mark based on which she proved her ownership, as perhaps while her husband was holding the bill of divorce, she saw the string. Rather, it must be that she stated the measure of its length. As the string was wrapped around the document, she would know its length only if the bill of divorce had been in her hand. In a case where the husband claims that the bill of divorce was not given to the wife and states that it was stored in a case, and the wife claims that she received the bill of divorce and states that it was stored in a case, the document should be given to the husband. What is the reason? Identification of the garment based on its storage cannot prove her ownership, as she knows that he places any valuable item that he has in his possession in the case. And now we go on to a new Mishnah. We go to the Mishnah, and we'll just do the Mishnah and that'll be it. Mishnah, and until when is one who finds a lost item obligated to proclaim his find? He is obligated to do so until the moment that the neighbors will know of its existence. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Yehuda says he is obligated to proclaim his find for 3 pilgrimage festivals, and for 7 days after the last of the 3 pilgrimage festivals, so that its owner will have time to go to his home, a trip lasting up to 3 days, and ascertain that he in fact lost the item, and he will return to Jerusalem, a trip lasting up to 3 days, and proclaim his loss for 1 day. Let's see here. I think that, yeah, we'll stop here.